Sherman of California for 5 minutes.
Thank you. I would disagree with the ranking member. Trump capitulated. He said we'd leave by May 1st of this year. He committed us to doing so. He would have done so. And he did so in negotiations where he excluded the Afghan government. We, in World War II, won the kind of complete victory where we were able to rebuild our adversaries and our own image. And we came away perhaps then with the idea that we should solve problems rather than manage problems. And Mr. Crocker, I think, correctly identified the fact that there are few total victories and that problems need to be managed. The American people have a certain strategic impatience. Part of that may be our culture. Part of that is also our leaders don't level with us. No one told us we're going to go into Afghanistan and we're going to be there for 50 years. And we're going to remake Afghanistan and we'll incur 10 to 20 casualties a year for the latter 40 of those 50 years. They instead told us we were winning and that we were creating something. So I don't know whether America is incapable of doing what Rome did, maintain a defensive force then again along the Rhine River for hundreds of years. I don't know whether we're incapable of doing that because of our people or because of our leaders. What's being put forward here is there should have been a better plan for withdrawal. Well, Secretary Blinken, in response to my questions, demonstrated there was no Trump plan for withdrawal. He said that this administration, that our current administration inherited a deadline, did not inherit a plan. Now the generals are testifying as if they had a plan for effective withdrawal. But as been pointed out in this hearing, it wasn't a withdrawal plan. It was a plan to stay there with at least 2,500 of our forces for at least 25, well, and I won't say at least 25 years, but for perhaps 25 years. And when you leave 2,500, that means if they get in trouble, you have to be prepared to deploy more. Historians will argue that perhaps we should have stayed in Afghanistan. The last 10 years we were there, the costs and casualties were but 1% of what we had incurred earlier. But the American people were never consulted about a long-term engagement. They were lied to about what was happening. And that brings me to, believe it or not, a question. I can see the American people were being told, certainly after Osama bin Laden was killed, we're creating an Afghan government that's going to exclude terrorists from the Afghan territory, then we're going to withdraw. And they were making progress toward that goal in 2003 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. Mr. McMaster, did the people running our policy believe that? Or in which case they were totally out of touch with what was going on in the country? Or did they just figure that they'd mislead the American people into believing that for whatever reason?
I think they were laboring under the flawed assumption that progress in war is linear, and they didn't acknowledge the authorship over the future that our enemies had. In those years that you mentioned, 2003, 4, 5, the Taliban was regenerating in Pakistan with the help of the ISI and with the help of Al-Qaeda. And so war is never linear, but we acted as if it was. Remember, when President Obama said
the American people in 2017 and said, you know what? We're in worse position now than we were in 2007. We haven't made progress. The American people, we're being told every year, we're making progress toward this goal of a self-sufficient Afghanistan. Maybe not, it may not be New Jersey, but it will exclude, and we weren't in any better position in 2017 than we were in 2007.
Well, I think you're right.
Why were the insiders lying to us, or did they not know?
I think that you're right, that across multiple administrations, that our leadership, including the presidents, did not tell the American people what they deserved to know. Why do they care? What is at stake in Afghanistan? And what is a strategy that will deliver a favorable outcome
We're going to have
at the
strategic
cost?
patience as a people. And in order to do that, we need a leadership that levels with us and says sometimes you have to stay on the front lines, hopefully with minimal casualties, for decades. And that may be
Gentleman's time has expired.
back.